What's up, good people? Episode 5 of the podcast. Welcome to If I May Speak. Got a lot on the agenda today. Want to talk about some of the violence going on from the military. Going to talk about some science. Going to talk about some social issues, some things that have popped up on social media. Going to talk about bots and how so much of what we find ourselves discussing in public forums is influenced by economics. I'm going to talk about why the Packers are about to smack the Bears. It's going to be a good game, though. And going to give you a little bit of foreshadowing for some of the things I'm going to talk about in the next episode. But here we are. This is If I May Speak. All right, just like with climate change, it appears we've raised our floor for what's acceptable violence from our government. We've got continued abuses from ICE and DHS, and now we've got the military. With so much of the violence being so frequent and so present, and so casual, it seems, that so much of the clamor and the outrage against these acts have become sort of background noise. They've raised the volume of violence in this country um, by the government, so much so that it takes something extreme for it to break through the background noise and be acknowledged. It's not a great place to be. It's honestly terrifying because of the escalation and the abuses of power from the government. We're seeing things that would have never been acceptable by any government in modern times be brushed off because there's just so much unacceptable stuff going on. And honestly, it's a terrifying and kind of unfortunate feeling that we're going through. And it's also really tough for us to determine all what's going on and what's happening because so much of our information is filtered through uh, different avenues that are either complicit or hoping for some kind of favoritism from the regime. We've got all of our major social media platforms, Meta, Twitter, slash X, TikTok, all of the places where we get our information from other people are controlled by people that are hoping for favor from this regime, who are so far in, so strong into oligarchy and technocrats, capitalists, unchecked capitalists, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to maintain the favor of this regime in an effort to boost their bottom line and to make more profits. So it's terrifying because so much of our timelines, our content that we see is algorithmically driven. So many words and so many different types of content are either suppressed, their reach is suppressed, the timelines are no longer in chronological order, so you know for a fact that things that are being shared with you are curated. The algorithm determines based off of your behaviors the things that you should see or what they think you should see. And sometimes it's based off of your engagement with certain posts, how long you look at something, how many times you click on something, how many times you share something. But then other times it's driven by what they would like you to see, the narratives that they would like you to be consumed by. They want to influence your reality by influence your algorithm. And we live in a modern society now, so it's not as easy as just get off social media. The world's so much better. Where will you get your information from? It's not just social media where we get our information from, but it's also the news. And I don't know if you've been paying attention for the last 9 months or so, but our news is also in bed with this regime as well. So all of our usual resources for getting information, for fact checking, for challenging things that come from our government are being manipulated by the government because those people are in bed with this regime. So we're relying more on independent journalists. We're relying more on people on the streets sharing their content, recording their videos, using their voices to tell us what's going on. And it's imperative that we maintain that because at this point, this regime has taken over all of our major ways of communicating. They've silenced the press. The Pentagon and the White House is just filled with sycophants and people that are sucking up Trump and sharing news that he only wants to talk about. It's even gotten to the point now where things are so bad and they're trying to act like it's not, that you're start to see fractures in what Fox News even talks about. So it's not like we're just catastrophizing and making up things that are bad. You're starting to see anchors and people on Fox News, which is solidly Trump, which has essentially been the engine for this whole regime. They're starting to have segments where they're talking about things like the economy and housing and costs and inflation, where they're just kind of stumped because stuff is so bad. And then you have observers and folks trying to bury their heads in the sand. And so much of what we're trying to do to organize and oppose what's going on in the world is being hamstrung by ones and zeros. But then, to highlight the point that I'm talking about, I don't know if you paid attention or have been paying attention to what's going on with Twitter. Twitter has a bad actor problem, all right? They put this new feature into Twitter that allows you to see which app store an individual user downloaded their application from and where the actual account originates. It tells you how many times they've had name changes. It's always told you that. But now you're getting the opportunity to see where some of the algorithmically driven content conversations come from. So much of it is coming from bad actors. We've already discussed in the past on this podcast, in the news, in the courts, about the disinformation campaign from Russia. One of the things that we fail to realize is China, Russia, and all these other countries, including the US, we've engaged in disinformation for a long time. We've done a really good job of propagandizing. That's why so many people think America is the greatest country in the world. Of course, there are great things about America. I'm not going to act like America is not a unique place. But this idea that we are number one in everything is pure propaganda. It's driven by feelings and not facts at all. If we were number one, we would have universal health care. We would have education. We would have infrastructure. We would have clean energy. We would have people that commit crimes not get elected to president, instead punished. But we don't have those things. But we do have some cool stuff in America. We do have prosperity. And we have some other things that America is unique in. But this idea that we're number one in everything is misguiding. And it's driven by propaganda. I mean, and with our society being so controlled, what we see, the information being so controlled by these algorithms, it's incentivized these companies to find ways to amplify the voices that they want amplified and suppress the voices that they do not want in a way that they've never been able to before. Print media, radio, and all those things were one thing. They had limited scope. You had to get different people to amplify those voices at different times using different methods. You had to seed information a bunch of different ways. You can artificially now generate content that has so much fake engagement that it forces its way into the conversation now because of bots. All right? And it's not just bots. It's capitalism tied into this as well, and it's interesting. If you think about where a lot of these accounts are coming from, discussing things in America and discussing so much of the goings on in this country, this is where you get anti-vax disinfo from, where you get pro-MAGA, pro-Trump information from, where you get pro-Russia, pro-blue star flag place from. You get a lot of that anti-genocide talk and all of that from bot farms from countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Bangladesh. When you think about it, the average monthly salary in those countries is like $400. I think in Nigeria, the average salary monthly is like $470. In Bangladesh and Kenya, it's less. I know in Bangladesh, it's just north of $200 a month, USD. And since Elon took over Twitter, they no longer meaningfully penalize accounts that lie, can't fact check folks anymore. You can promote hate outright. You can incite violence outright. You can say things on Twitter now that you couldn't say before because of modesty and trying to keep the platform free of that kind of mis and disinformation. But since they've monetized engagement so much, since the whole idea of Twitter has shifted to rage bait, essentially, a lot of these countries a lot of the people in these countries see an opportunity for them to monetize that hate. these bad actors can now profit. For folks in these lower income countries, you could quite literally provoke outrage in another country, lie outright about vaccines, lie outright about what's going on in Russia, stoke dissent about music, distract people from what's really important that's going on, and earn more money from using a bot and a bot farm for engagement than you could with a full-time local job. And all it takes is a little bit of tech know-how and the desire to spread mis and disinformation. It takes a weird ethic to do that willingly, but also as I just mentioned, the economics of where some of these people live and where these accounts originate dictate sometimes doing things that you might not necessarily agree with in order to make some money. Capitalism's crazy like that. They've effectively incentivized the perfect storm that funds and fuels basically what amounts to the scrolls to cause chaos in our society. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting concept, and it's a very interesting thing that we can dig into and talk about a bit more. Um, but next time you're on Twitter, just click through some of the accounts. If somebody says something crazy, just click through, look at their account, and see where the app was downloaded. A lot of the commentary about what's going on in this country and a lot of the praise for some of the crazy stuff that MAGA is doing is coming from Bangladesh, coming from India, coming from Nigeria, coming from non-US based. And you know you've got people that have made burner accounts and fake accounts. There was one famous MAGA guy that's on that app that was tweeting about being black, which was crazy, but he forgot to log into his burner account. So he was tweeting about being black from his account where he's a white guy. So all the text was, trying to emulate being black, but he forgot to log into the other account. That stuff's been going on for a long time now. But that's one user with a platform, trying to take advantage of, rage bait to get engagement. It's been souped up now with bot farms and with AI. You can scale that mis and disinformation to the point where you can overwhelm what's reasonable. You can make people doubt reality just from the sheer volume of bullshit that you can propagate. But that's enough about that. I want to talk about something a little more, I guess, lighthearted, but not as political per se. I was on Instagram scrolling through reels like we're all want to do, just letting again the algorithm do its thing. And Kelani folded covers. I got stuck in this loophole, a rabbit hole of folded covers from Kelani. People just making videos for that. And there was this one video I saw where this mom was like in her late 40s, and she was doing folded with her daughter. Her daughter is grown, 20 something or whatever. And she had on like these pajamas. The daughter was in pajamas, whatever. But the mom was dancing and singing. She was doing the Toni Braxton version of folded. So she was telling her daughter to stop, doing all that. Cute video, whatever. Everybody looked good in the video as you would expect. But the comments, crazy. All the comments were so negative about the mom dancing and singing around in her pajamas, talking about put some clothes on and why are you wearing that around your daughter? She gonna have friends that's gonna be looking at you crazy. You gotta have more respect for yourself. And it's crazy to me how women are no longer seen as people in general. But it's even crazier that because once we start getting older or once women become mothers, they just treat you like you're not a person anymore. It's just very crazy to me. Something so lighthearted as doing a video with your daughter singing a song, playing around on the internet, just encourages so much vitriol. And it's very weird to me. But then again, you have to keep in context what I just talked about. So much of the engagement that we see on social media doesn't come from actual people. But when it does come from actual people, it does tend to bother me a lot. Just because people have children or get older doesn't mean they can't have fun anymore. Why do we do that to folks? Why do we act like getting older and or having kids just reformats people? Like you're not allowed to do certain stuff no more. People still want to feel sexy. They still have things they like and don't like. They still want to have fun. They still want to have their dreams. They still have ambitions. They still have stuff they want to do. And this is crazy to me that in general, not just for women, but in general, once you hit your 40s and 50s, folks act like there's things you just shouldn't do anymore. Why is dancing and singing a problem? I don't understand it. Of course, we expect a level of maturity and experience for certain areas of life that are more important, more serious, career stuff, finances, life insurance. Like there's certain things we expect as you get older for us to be more mature about. But why do we act like folks can't have fun? Why can't folks be silly anymore? Why can't folks be half naked if they want to be? If you work out and you work hard, you take care of your body, or hell, if you don't, and you feel comfortable in your skin enough to wear something and record a video, why is that a problem? Seriously, why is that a problem? We're all adults. If an adult decides to post a video of them singing and dancing and doing something silly in pajamas, for instance, why are we so quick to bash them for having fun? We were never meant to see so much of everyone's lives on social media. We're not built to see so much of what people do in private. But it exists now, and it's our reality. And honestly, we'll be much better off in this new ecosystem if we stopped acting like some of these behaviors are brand new. That's another thing. We act like people are acting different now than they've ever acted before. And in some instances, this is absolutely true because I'm not going to act like we haven't had our brains cooked by dopamine. We haven't been influenced so much by the algorithms and the dopamine rush of likes and reshares and engagement that we are seeking bigger and bigger hits of dopamine from doing more and more things in order to get engagement. All right. The things that might have got a lot of likes a year ago won't do the same thing now. So you don't get that same hit of dopamine. So guess what? You got to do something a little bit crazier so you can get that feeling back. Dopamine is a drug. They've turned it into one. And again, the algorithms have influenced that. So it'd be disingenuous of me to act like people aren't doing more. All right. Not saying that. But this idea that people can't have fun on social media because they're older or because they're a mom or because they've got a certain career is crazy to me. All right. I get it. Engagement analytics and algorithms have made it so that people are seeking and doing more and more things in order to get that feeling from the notifications of likes. But this idea that we're doing things that we've never done before is crazy to me because if you've ever talked to folks that were partying and young adults in the 70s, 80s, 90s, pre cell phone, everywhere era, the things that they were doing, they'll be quick to tell you that they're glad that cell phones weren't popular because they had a time. And I wonder why they were so why they're so anti cell phone and people recording things now because they know if camera phones was around like that, the video cameras was easily accessible like that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there'd be a whole bunch of content out there of them wilding out. I seen Soul Train. I've seen them videos. Y'all not about to lie to me and tell me it was just a happier time back then. I know them boogers was sugary. I know they was. And I know them drugs was drugging. Because them videos and some of the stuff I've seen from the things that were recorded were wild. Y'all was wilding. And for people to act like they wasn't, it's hilarious to me. You had bands performing songs with the wrong title and the hook not even matching. I'm looking at you, Brothers Johnson. Is it Strawberry Letter 22 or 23? Which one is it? Because the song say one thing and the hook say something different. And if you ever looked at the lyrics of that song, that'll tell you exactly what was going on back in the day. Them boys was tripping balls, all right? They was tripping balls when they wrote that song and they performed that song. And this idea that all of a sudden now folks is doing something that they never done before is crazy to me. Bootsy Collins and them while here tripping. All these songs talking about having good time, all this cultural stuff with people wilding out. Music and movies will tell you that what people think is crazy nowadays was pretty common then. All right. So I'm not with that idea that we're doing more than before. I just feel like we can see more than what we could see before. And you run into this cognitive bias, just like when you get a new car, where you start to see that car everywhere, even though they've always been there. All of a sudden, now you're paying more attention to it. So now everywhere you go, you happen to see that car. All right, another shift. I know, no easy transitions for this. I'm sorry. If you've been paying attention to the stock market, if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the economy, if you're paying attention to what wealthy folks have been doing, wealthy folks are getting liquid. They're starting to exit their positions. And if you don't know what that means they're starting to sell stocks from companies that they haven't invested in. They are getting away from the market itself and moving to cash. That should terrify you. If the billionaire class is moving away from the market to stockpile cash, that means they know the value of the things that they were holding is about to change for the negative. They are getting cash because they're anticipating a bubble bursting. It's really good for people with a lot of money that are liquid, really bad for folks whose 401ks and things like that are um, locked into those things. They don't have the ability to get out and get that cash on hand because when the bubble bursts, companies are overvalued and the market corrects itself, the value tumbles. And it could take years for folks to recoup those losses. And the floor drops. So now your ceiling also drops for how much you could have actually made. But when you're a billionaire and you can exit your positions and get liquid, hold on to that cash, wait for the bubble to burst and the floor to fall off. Now you can buy back into those positions at a discounted rate, having already made your profit the first time and can ride it back up, especially knowing how this government and this regime is going to be willing to bail out corporations through either tax cuts or outright paying them to regain their position stock wise. They know that these companies are overvalued, and either more money is going to get printed, which is going to devalue the dollar and further artificially inflate the values of some of these companies, or they're expecting this bubble to burst. Looking at you, AI. All these companies that have been taking the same dollars and reporting them as profit, even though they're just sharing the dollars from the other company. If you get a chance, Google what's going on with some of these AI companies, NVIDIA and Meta and all these other groups and OpenAI. They're sharing the same dollars like they switched wallets, but they're all reporting those dollars as unique. And when it all comes tumbling down, the billionaire sitting on all this cash will buy the scraps and it will start all over again. They're not playing by the same rules as us, and they're insulated from the pain. So if you've got cash in the market, I'm not a financial guy. I pay attention to what's going on. I'm a little bit of everything. Talk to your financial advisor if you have one, and if you don't have one, talk to one. Ask them about what's going on with the billionaire class and see if you can emulate it. Protect yourself. If I'm tripping, if I'm lying, I'm flying. But take a look. Google some of the folks that you can recognize names for and see what they've been doing. Warren Buffett is sitting on 300 billion, 325 billion in cash right now. Homeboy, Peter Thiel, sold all of his Nvidia. He got out of Nvidia completely. I'm telling you, take a look at what's going on. All right, something more fun, way more fun than that. I know it's enough gloom and doom. It is Bears Packers week. Go Pack, go. All right. Bears look all right. They got a good run game. They opportunistic on defense. They take the ball away. The Packers have a great run defense. We don't give up yards on the ground overall. All right. And we don't turn the ball over. So this is going to be a battle of wills. I know and have all faith in the world that the Packers are going to pull out the W. I got faith in J Love and Micah and Xavier McKinney and Edge Cooper and Christian Watson and the crew to hold it down, continue the dominance of the Bears historically. But it's going to be a good game, and I'm looking forward to it. It's for first place in the division, and it's going to have a lot to do with playoff seeding. We got a crazy 3 weeks coming up as the Packers. We got to play the Bears twice with the Broncos sandwiched in the middle. So it's going to be a fun 3 weeks as a Packers fan. Hopefully we come out of this, 3-0 from this next little window. But it's going to be a good challenge. The Bears just put belt to ass for the Eagles. I mean, they just ran the ball down their throat nonstop. No pause, no nothing. They pounded them in the throat, just right up the middle with the run game. it was crazy. I was watching some of the film and some of the play designs and stuff, so it was real creative, a lot of eye candy. Hopefully, the Packers linebackers and safeties are disciplined and read their keys the correct way. But it's going to be a good game. Fully expecting, I'll be really happy if we get a Packers blowout. You know, it'd be nice to put that game together against the top team, where like we just did against the Lions, where we just play our game and blow them out. Flashbacks to when the Packers put up 40 in the first half. I love one of those games. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see Spice Adams post if something crazy like that happens. Spice and Tony Baker looking all sad on social media. They be bringing us laughs, but hopefully the Packers can wipe a smile off their face tomorrow. But that's enough for me. Enough yapping. Thanks for tuning in to episode 5. Maybe there's something in here you didn't know. Maybe there's something in here you can Google and look up more. If there's something in here I taught you, go ahead and take a look at commenting and sharing this and letting other people learn. Because your engagement is what drives me to do this. I like sharing this information. I like taking the time to research the things I'm discussing. I like having the opportunity to speak my mind. So I appreciate this. This is going to hit you on YouTube and Patreon. We're going to have a Patreon live coming up soon, and it's going to be all about science. I'm going to chat about vaccines and why it feels like our knowledge is time traveling backwards. I've got a lot to discuss with that. I didn't touch any of it today because I want to make sure that when I come in this next episode talking about these vaccines, because it is such a contentious subject, again, for some reason, all I's dotted, all T's crossed. Shout out to the folks that make it through these episodes. I appreciate y'all. I love you. Peace.